Okay, let's go ahead and call the Millcreek Township General Authority meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, next order on the agenda is any public comments. Before I ask for any public comments, just a quick note to please be civil, respectful, and comments are limited to 5 minutes. So if we have anybody that would like to make any public comments on agenda items, please come forward.
Sue Weber, I live at 5338 Norris Drive. I had been here last month and spoken to you about awarding a contract for services to Altair Realtors without giving anybody else the opportunity to bid on such services or present a proposal, which didn't seem right to me because you're supposed to be operating on behalf of the taxpayers. So Greg Rubino from Passport Developers put together a proposal, and he emailed the supervisors, and he emailed Matt, and he didn't get a reply for 26 days. I think it wasn't until 2 days ago. And Matt had told him, well, we don't need a developer. That's not what we're looking for. Well, that's not what Greg Rubino had in his request to present a proposal at all. What he said was he has years of experience guiding developers as a third party in securing, vetting, and assisting developers. He's been doing this on large and small projects nationwide for over 30 years. He has so much more experience than Altair has in this. So clearly he's more qualified. So you're his proposal and has. You have, again, you are working with public money. Altair's experience in scale in comparison to what he has to offer. Asking the public for bypassing the second-class township code, which says you are not allowed to purchase property above an appraised price or second-class township code by forming an authority. Then the township gave you the money, then you did it that way. Under scrutiny for not allowing things into the light of day with public money. Right now, with the old Kmart Plaza there, what they're doing is getting an appraisal, form an authority, and usurp the second-class township code. But you, again, you're doing the same thing Altair is going to do. So
And receive any specific. Thank you. Any other? Okay. A motion. So moved by Ms. Clear. Do I have a second? Any comments, questions on the minutes? If not, we'll take a vote. Mr. Roulette? Yes. Mr. Bach?
Yes.
Ms. Clear?
yes.
And I think Ms. Mitchell? Thank you, and I vote yes. Okay, so those minutes are approved. Thank you. Okay, moving on to agenda item number 5, the financial report. Mr. Zaszewski.
Yes, not a whole bunch of activity in the month of August. In terms of revenue, the only thing that occurred was interest on the money that was in the bank. And as far as expenses, there were legal fees of $7,363. Those were paid to McDonald Oilig. Property maintenance expense of $1,702. The biggest chunk of that was a Penelec bill, and there was also a streetlight assessment for one of the properties. And then the other expense was the real estate taxes. These are the school taxes for the 23-24 school year. We paid those under protest within the discount period to say the 2%, but the bills, because they're already generated, whether we get that money back or not is hard to say, but at least by paying them, we made it the smallest number possible and see where that goes. There was no capital activity in the month because all the properties have been purchased. That would be the second page of the financial statement. And then the final page is the trial balance, and that shows what is currently in the cash account. There were no outstanding checks, I don't think, at the end of the month. So that reflects the bank balance. Any variance to budget will be largely cleared up with the resolution that's going to be presented later. And there will be no additional request for funding from the township with that amendment.
Appreciate to see this on a monthly basis. Does anybody have any comments, questions on the information presented?
None here.
No? Everybody good? Okay, thank you again. Okay, moving on to approval of bills. And no, I mean, you just commented.
I pretty much
Yep.
explained them on
Right.
on the financial statement. That's what we have. We've got streetlights for 2819 Westlake Road, and I believe that is the banner, or is that the Salem? That was $110. McDonald, 2 bills, and then Penelec, $15.91. They were actually looking to make us pay a deposit. I was able to get that waived.
Okay.
Almost 10 grand.
Okay, I just, looking for a motion to approve the bills.
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Olet,
Second?
second by Ms. Clear. Any additional questions? If not, we'll take a vote. Mr. Olet,
Yes.
Mr. Bach,
Yes.
Ms. Clear,
Yes.
and Ms. Mitchell.
yes,
And I vote yes, so bills are approved. Thank you. Okay, on to item number 7, Resolution 2023 R4. Mr. Waldinger, could you explain that motion?
Yes, thank you. As you're aware, on December 14, 2022, the authority approved its 2023 budget. And as Mr. Zaszewski pointed out, it was a new budget for a newly formed authority, so he did the best job that he possibly could with anticipating expenses for the year. Now that we have over half a year's worth of expenses and we have the properties under ownership, we do have a little better kind of track record as to how those budget categories should kind of be organized and where some of the money should be distributed. And so we're proposing this resolution in order to reallocate some funds. Again, as Mark mentioned, it's not changing any of the anticipated revenues or the total of expenses. It's just reallocating funds within line items in the budget. Actually, all of the potential funds are coming from the capital line item at engineering expense utilities. That had an amount of $352,313 budgeted for it. That's in anticipation of paying engineering fees towards design work for West 8th Street. As you know, we're most of the way through the year. We would like to still get an engineer engaged before the end of the year, but it will be late in the year and certainly will not need that amount of funds in order to cover that. And so this amendment anticipates taking $147,600 from that line item, leaving it with a balance of $204,713. and then taking that $147,600 and allocating it in the following manner. Adding $67,500 to professional services, which would cover property surveys, the Ingalls planning contract, and the Altair agreement. $60,000 to legal fees, $15,000 to property maintenance expense, and $5,100 to balance the school taxes that Mr. Zaszewski mentioned that we had paid under protest. And so those, the total of those four items add up to the $147,600 that we are reducing the engineering design utilities by, and so it balances but just reallocates those funds into different locations.
Thank you for the explanation. Questions or comments on this resolution? So basically, it's net neutral to the budget and net neutral to our cash. Yes. Okay. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution 2023 R4?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Roulette,
Second.
second by Ms. Clear. Any further discussion? If not, we will take a vote. Mr. Roulette,
Yes.
Mr. Bach,
Yes.
Ms. Clear,
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell,
yes,
and I vote yes. So Resolution 2023 R4 is approved. Okay, item number 8 is bids and quotations, the Presque Isle Gateway Planning and Real Estate Advisory Services Contract, which we tabled from the last meeting. Mr. Waldinger?
Yes, thank you. Before you is an updated proposal from Altair Real Estate sent on September 1st, 2023. It has been modified to propose a monthly fee for the planning and project coordination services, and then a not-to-exceed amount for any additional work such as the public engagement, developer engagement, recommendations and strategies for additional public funding options, and financial modeling of proposed developments. It has also been proposed to be a 2-year agreement, which I personally feel is a better expectation for the length of the project. Adding the not-to-exceed element to the contract will provide flexibility for the authority to utilize Altair's expertise for additional work only as needed and is not tied to any set monthly fee if there is no need for such assistance. I do believe that's a better arrangement for the authority rather than having specific deliverables that may or may not be possible depending on market conditions or other factors. The proposed monthly fee is a total of $34,000 per year, which works out to $2,833.33 per month. And the proposed not-to-exceed amount is $100,000 per year. These costs have been figured into the proposed budget amendment that was just adopted and then can be included as we budget for 2024 and 2025 respectively. It would be my recommendation to enter into this agreement with Altair at the September meeting, or I'm sorry, at today's meeting. Just to address a comment that was brought up earlier, I did want to point out that this is a professional service. We do have experience with Altair. They have been with us from the beginning of this project, have helped us to develop it to the point that it is now, and we've worked with them on the vision for where we intend to go. I do feel that Altair is the best fit and does have the best expertise and knowledge to take us forward to the next steps.
Okay, thank you. Comments or questions on the Altair proposal? I just have a couple of, if nobody else has any comments. This has obviously been significantly different than what we looked at initially a few months ago. As you said, it's a professional services contract, so it doesn't require bidding. We are comfortable with them. We're comfortable with some of the work that they've done. In terms of our long-term commitment, in terms of work item number 2, if we don't feel there's anything we need, there's no obligation whatsoever. So we're really voting on something, there needs to be a specific work order with specific parameters before we engage anything with that, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And initially, I think the project coordination fee was $43,000. Now it looks like they've limited it to $34,000 annually. The automatic extensions, I'm just a little bit confused about that. I know we're looking at a 2-year contract, but it says it's a 12-month engagement with 6-month automatic extensions, cancelable by written notice of the authority. If after 11 months from this contract we deem we don't need Altair anymore, is the contract automatically renewed for 6 more months, or is there any obligation for us after?
Chairman, I don't know if it's spelled out in their proposal, but certainly when we negotiate the agreement that we'll sign, make sure we have a provision that gives us maybe a 30-day notice window or whatever, that we can notify
Okay.
them within 30 days before the renewal kicks in.
Okay.
That's a fairly standard procedure when you have those types of rollovers, that there's a little window that
Okay.
you have to say no. And sometimes that window's long, sometimes it's short. We obviously will look for a shorter.
I think that makes sense. So
Yeah.
if we put a 30-day window in there, as long as we cancel prior to November 30th, there wouldn't be any more obligation. If we don't cancel prior to November 30th, then it's extended for 6 months at a time. I think that makes sense. Okay. Okay. Other questions, other comments?
I just have a couple quick comments. I do appreciate Matt Waldinger's, input on this document, and I think the updated proposal is definitely better than the last one. I'm questioning the need to use Altair at this point. I'm not convinced that any services of anybody, whether it's anybody, other than Altair, is really needed for this overall scope of what we're doing there. I understand the reasoning behind it, but I'm just not comfortable with the expense, although it's updated and it's better. And Matt, I respect what your research indicates, but I'm not comfortable with just the overall timing or the usage of this expense at this point in time. And I'm a little bit, I just want an update on the $100,000 per year not to exceed. So the monthly fee that's the not to exceed the 12 monthly, it says 12 monthly in parentheses 24 installments. If you go down to the fee schedule, should that be 12?
I think it's over 2 years.
Yeah, I
Is
mean, I
that
think it's
why?
technically a 2-year engagement. but
Okay.
I think
But
it's
I
for
think
2 years.
we could have an out after 12 months if we so choose, if we exercise it prior to the end of
Okay.
November.
And then
I believe that's a lump sum.
And then not to exceed 100,000 annually, that would be for the second portion of their,
Yeah.
what would that entail, Matt? Just give
That-
some specifics. on
Sure, that would be, they would have to present a very specific proposal for a specific deliverable, such as holding the public engagement meetings, what the anticipation and what the deliverable for that would be. They would give us a set, a price for just doing that portion. Another would be doing, any sort of developer engagement where we're bringing developers to town to take a look at the site. And same, they would have a very set work plan and deliverable that would come out of that with a set price for that.
Right. So just for the sake of argument, if somebody purchased the Joe Roots property today, right, we sold it to them, they could be doing this same thing, correct? In other words, a new owner of the property could be undergoing this expense with Altair instead of us.
Under this contract, or you just mean doing the same type of work?
Same type of work.
Oh, yeah, I could imagine, so yes.
And this is an expense that sometimes falls on the developer because they're not developing it, they're consulting for that, correct?
Potentially, but, again, their role is to help us come up with a master developer that would take the whole site and develop it in accordance with the vision.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Matt. That's all I have. Kim?
I was actually just going to clarify the work item 2, that's all, the mapping, GISing, and that was, well, my question was related to
100,000.
yours. That was what was the 100,000. I wanted to clarify the same thing. It would be grant writing, owner representation, community, municipal, and neighborhood planning and analysis, and then the financial assistance. So, okay, so that portion is considered in work item 2. But I guess then I was going to ask a second question, Matt. Do some of those other advisory services help with, are those related to the project coordination, the work item 1? So for instance, when they are consulting us on budget and funding strategies for the project plan and action items, they may be recommending to us to apply for a certain grant and things like that.
Certainly, yeah. They would be doing that sort of advisory thing, and if it's something that can be done within township, within the township, within our own forces, or which I could
Okay.
do, then that would just be done. It would not necessitate any additional
Okay.
services. It would be if there was something beyond our scope or beyond our competency,
Yeah.
then we could engage Altair to do those things.
Okay, okay. So all right, so thank you very much, I appreciate that.
Matt, I just have one more question now that I think about it, because I wasn't involved when the RACP grant was received. How instrumental were they in helping us secure those RACP funds?
Well,
Or what was their role?
Sure. They, I guess, it's hard to quantify, but I guess I can say it this way. The township on its own submitted an application to draw on our RACP funding, and we were granted $500,000. The next time that we went back and asked for additional funds, we talked to Altair and we hired them to help us prepare the application. That award was a $3 million award. So they do have, especially Tom Hardy from Altair, has a lot of experience with RACP, both in seeking the funding and then managing it once it's been obtained.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other questions, comments?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the contract with Altair.
Motion made by Ms. Clear. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Roulette. Any additional, we've had a lot of discussion on this, and I know there's been, some public opposition, obviously, to this, but I feel like there's been a lot of work done, and I think this is, from my standpoint, it's an excellent compromise. They've done some great work before for the authority, even prior to me being involved, and I think they listened, and financially, it's a much different commitment. So I'm pleased with, I appreciate everybody's work on this and everybody's time and looking into this. We took everybody's comments under consideration. So thank you for that. And any other comments, questions? If not, we will take a vote. Mr. Roulette?
Yes.
Mr. Bach?
I vote no.
Ms. Clear?
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell?
Yes.
Yes, and I vote yes as well. Okay, thank you. That passes. Okay, moving on to communications, item number 9. Solicitor, Mr. Shaw.
Nothing on my end.
Nothing on your end? Okay, thank you. And Executive Director's report, Mr. Waldinger.
Thank you. Just wanted to give a couple of brief updates. Work has begun on the asbestos removal at Joe Roots. AMARC Environmental has begun that work and should be finishing soon. The Manor and the Sandbar, they have also, we awarded them the contract for that. That will be happening in the future. The Manor will have to be coordinated as part of the demolition because it is the exterior siding of the building. So that'll happen closer to demolition. Speaking of demolition, we are putting the final touches now on the demolition bid package. It should be available very soon. We're working on the legal advertisement and the final wording for that. So that should be out. It will be sent to any of the companies that have contacted me, since we've begun this process and this has become known. I've had several reach out to me. I've kept a list. So they will also be contacted, and then we will also advertise for any other interested parties that could do that work.
Matt, can you remind me afterwards to tell you about someone that inquired about demo? I just want to make sure they're on the list because they've called me like 50 times in the past
Sure,
6
absolutely.
months. So
Yep.
I want to make sure you have the name.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yep.
If I could just kind of add to Matt's comments, the buildings that are being explored for potential demolition at this time would be the Sandbar, the Manor, Joe Roots, and then that little hotel strip that's part of the Bel Air, that area.
Okay, that concludes your report?
Yep, that concludes.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Waldinger? If not, okay, we're moving right along. Item number 10, citizens to be heard. Do we have any more comments from any citizens?
Dennis McAndrew. Way back, I only missed one meeting. So way back at the beginning, I asked, kiddingly but somewhat seriously, are you smoking stogies and having whiskey in the back room making deals? And who's getting paid more? And Shaw answered my question. No one on the board is going to get any more money. This is all the benefit of the township. That's a true statement. But we're going to spend how many thousands of dollars for a consultant? I was under the impression the township was going to be able to step up and do it on its own. It wasn't going to cost a fortune. And I said back then, it's nice to dream. Paying for it's another story. And to be careful that this was going to be a problem. I just want it on the record. I think it's a problem. And I keep hearing from other people, there's no citizen. I realize you're all citizens of Millcreek Township. But I think it's a little too insider, that maybe a common citizen like myself, or maybe a former board member or someone in government maybe should sit on the board instead of 3 supervisors. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dennis.
I have a question. As you know, the open meeting law encourages public bodies to answer questions that citizens propose at meetings. Where did Altair come from to begin with? How come they were the only people in on the ground floor that got to do anything? How did they get hired, but nobody else got looked at? How did that happen? Where did they come from?
Anybody have a comment on
You must
that?
know where they came from. You hired them. Mr. Shaw, are they clients of your law firm? Are Altair clients of yours? They don't do any business with your law firm at all.
Ms. Weber, they were recommended by various organizations and other people that had done similar projects.
Who would those organizations be? Be specific.
The Chamber of Commerce, our local Erie County Chamber and Growth Partnership, they were one. And there were some other that I guess the other people that had also dealt with them, including Downtown Development Corporation and some others.
You're saying the Downtown
So,
Development
Erie events.
Corporation recommended them?
No, I'm saying that they were mentioned, and there are many other individuals within the county and beyond that actually had high recommendation of them. We did our homework. We did do a lot of research on them and on their organization and all of the things that they have been able to do over the last 13 years or so.
So you
Very
never
impressive.
looked at anybody else's resume?
It's very impressive.
Right. You never looked at anybody else's resume that's a realtor like Passport to see what they had to offer. You never looked at theirs. You just got a few recommendations and went with it.
We didn't need a realtor.
And so you think that they're more qualified than Passport, that's been in business for years and has done this? You think they're more qualified? Must.
I'd like to answer that question because I don't think we're making any determination, but I can tell you, and I understand that you're not comfortable with them and you don't think they're doing a good job for the township. But with our relationship, we do think they're doing a good job. They've worked very well with the authority. They've worked very well with the executive director and many of the board members. Their selection preceded the formation of this authority. But we basically have a difference of opinion. You think they're not qualified. We think they are. And we also think that our experience to date has been very good.
I didn't say they're not qualified. I said they're not as qualified as Passport or other agencies in this town who have been doing this for years and have reputations for doing many huge projects here and all over the country. They're not as qualified experience-wise as those people. They're not. So I don't know, when you're dealing with taxpayers' money, you wouldn't have looked at other people too. I just don't understand that.
And as Ms. Claire said, they did look at others too. So
And it's comparing apples and oranges here. It's not even the same thing,
Right.
so.
Hi, my name is Nancy Shea, and I've attended several of these meetings. And I've been at the past two where you've tabled Altair, and you've tabled, every time I come, it's a different presentation with a different set of fees. And we don't know any specifics. And the only thing I know about Altair, and I think I speak for the taxpayers, is that they negotiated some really bad real estate deals for the taxpayers. I mean, we paid way over the appraised values, something that Sue Weber said Harbor Creek would never do. So I want to know what makes you think that they've done such a good job when the main thing they did so far was negotiate really bad real estate deals and get paid a huge commission for those deals.
I mean, if you'd like me to answer that question, that's your opinion of, you think that they made bad real estate deals. We paid market value for those properties. And I personally was involved in the downtown development, and you pay what it takes to acquire those properties. So that's your opinion. We're not going to change that opinion. We've moved forward from that. You can continue to say there were bad deals. You continue to say we overpaid. We made those decisions as a board to acquire those properties at what was market value. In some cases, in the Bel Air's case, we have an appraisal that it actually exceeds what we paid for it. So, I'm not going to respond anymore about what's happened in the past. You can think what you want. I'm not going to convince you.
Mr. Zimmer.
You're not going to convince me.
Would your bank have financed the purchases of these at those prices? Would your had Millcreek Township not had the funds to pay them, would your bank have financed them? Being that they were so far above the appraised values?
That's an impossible question for me to answer. It's hypothetical and completely hypothetical in nature. It depends on how much they wanted to finance. There's a lot of other things involved. There's absolutely no way I can give you a yes or no on that question. Impossible. And again,
How much grant money has Altair procured for you already in this project? You said that's one of their.
I think I mentioned the last RACP award of $3 million was based on an application that they submitted
They
for
did
us.
it?
Yes.
Can't anybody from the township do that? Do you ever do applications for grant money?
We do and we have, and I think I mentioned that the previous application that I submitted, we were awarded $500,000. I'm not saying that there's a direct correlation, but there was a level of expertise, there was a level of experience with the RACP application process that they brought to bear that I feel did make our application the second time more attractive than the initial.
All this money that you've paid them so far on a monthly basis, what do you have to show for that? Is there specifics that we as taxpayers can see what exactly that money went for? Like not just broad, like consulting fees, like specifically?
not really sure. Matt, I don't know if you want to take a.
You paid them,
tried that
you paid
question,
them a
but-
lot of money. What are you getting for your money? A grant application?
So,
Well, we received, a $3 million grant. We've acquired various properties, again.
At over the appraised value?
That's your opinion. We paid what the market value
The
was.
appraised
So-
value is,
Market value is what a willing buyer and a willing seller.
who
are
decided
willing-
that? You guys? Are you real estate professionals?
That's what market value is, but
Who decided the market value?
the market is decided by the market.
No,
When you have a buyer and a seller, that's the market.
I mean, if I decide my house is worth $1 million and I can get somebody to pay it, you'd finance that for me?
That's what the
market
market says it's
value.
worth. That's what the market says it's worth. I mean, there's some maybe ask,
Can I call for a recess?
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion for a recess.
do we need,
We can make a motion for a recess.
do we need a second for that, or do?
Yeah.
Okay. Do I have a second to go into recess?
What's the recess for?
What reason?
Yeah,
Just-
what's the reason for the recess?
I don't need to give a reason, but it's maybe to chill out a little.
I will second the.
Okay.
If I have the ability to
Who's
second that
needing
motion, I
to
will
chill
second
out?
it.
Is
Okay.
the meeting
Take a
getting
vote. Sure. Take a vote for a recess?
Yes. Mr. Olet?
Yes.
Mr. Black?
No.
Ms.
Yes.
Fair? Ms. Mitchell?
Yes.
Okay.
This is
I'll vote yes as well.
absolutely unbelievable, the way you run things. It's absolutely just over the top.
I'm not sure what the protocol is after we voted for a recess, but
I'll make a motion to return from recess.
Okay, motion made by Ms. Clear to return. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Olet. We'll go ahead and vote. Mr. Olet?
Yes.
Mr. Bach?
Yes.
Ms. Clear?
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell? We have her on the line?
Yes.
Yes?
She said yes.
Okay, and I say yes. Okay, back to the regular meeting. You have 2 minutes left. The reason why we took a recess is we're trying to do the best job we can, and when you're being personally attacked and it doesn't seem like maybe you're being listened to, it's very difficult. And we're not expecting comments from the outside. If you have a comment, we welcome it. You have 5 minutes at the podium, but respectfully ask you not to scream out from the audience because it is not professional, and we're trying to do the best we can. So you have 2 minutes left. We're not going to go back and forth with questions. We'll let you have your 2 minutes, and that'll be it. So please proceed.
I'm just getting the feeling this is like a done deal. The whole thing, this is all just a charade and a sham. It's always 4 votes against 1 vote. It's not even impartial or independent people. It's like you all have this group think, and you're going to railroad us through this project. You pick your friends, you pick your recommendations. You didn't give realtors a chance to sell the properties. You didn't give various consulting firms a chance. How about the demolition? Do you have that locked up too? Is that going out for bid, or you just got people in mind for that also? Maybe somebody that Downtown Erie Chamber recommended?
You apparently were not listening because we just went through the bid process on the demolition.
Did you, I missed that.
That's okay. You might have missed it, but we talked about it. It's in the minutes. It's been in the minutes in the past as well.
Well, what's the demolition who are they?
We are hopeful to advertise by the end of the week to receive bidders. We do have a list of demolition companies that have reached out ever since this project became publicly known. We will send a bid package to any of them that wish. Also, anybody else that receives the bid from the paper or from the ad. The authority is bound to take the lowest responsible bidder from those bids received. We'll see what bids we get and then move forward from there.
Okay. Are we able to get, besides filling out the endless right-to-know requests that we've already filled out, just like pulling teeth to get anything specific on the project, we're just getting like, I don't know, blatant, just canned responses from you guys. Is there any way that we can actually find out what we are paying for? We already know we paid too much for the properties, but what Altair is actually doing?
Okay. I think we're at the 5-minute limit. We appreciate your comments, and thank you very much.
Ann Silverthorne, 4017 Sierra Drive. So I didn't have the budget, the 2023 budget in front of me, but the engineering figure, what was that number that you're reallocating? So you're
Here, if
taking
you'd like,
from-
you can have that. But, yeah, it is.
Okay, so,
vicinity.
okay.
So, yeah, the original amount, budgeted amount was $352,313. The new budget amount is $204,713.
So it's
147.
Oh, 100%, yeah. I majored in English, so. This is one of the reasons why I switched my major from accounting to the highly lucrative major of English. But what I'm hearing, what I do remember from my whole 12 credits of accounting, so it seems like to balance this budget, you're just taking from the engineering budget and reallocating it to the professional services, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, all right.
Yep.
Among others, there are 4 different accounts.
Oh, okay.
And you can have this if you'd like. I do have other copies if anybody wants. Yep.
To me, it seems then that the engineering costs that you didn't incur this year, you're going to incur next year. So where it seems like you really budgeted everything really nicely for 2023, you're going to be kind of out of whack for 2024, right? You're going to have to come up with that money because the engineering services weren't done in 2023, so you need to budget for them in 2024. Is that correct?
Not necessarily. I mean, you know, we don't know what's involved.
But you budgeted for 350,000 in engineering costs for 2023.
Correct.
But you didn't incur them, so you were able to take that money and put it into 2020, or into the different accounts. But then that means, I mean, so you weren't really at that point to have them do the work, right? And as you're
Correct.
progressing, now you're going to be getting to the point where you need them to do the work, right? So that's my only thing, is I heard everything is great, we're all budget, you know, everything is balanced, but really what we did was we took some expenses from 2023, and we need to figure out how to pay for them in 2024. That's my understanding. Am I not getting that right?
Well,
May I?
Yeah.
I mean, I believe it's close, you're right. I think I said earlier, and I don't want to speak for Mark, you know, it was a difficult job to come up with a budget for an authority that hadn't existed before, and so some categories were probably higher than they needed to be. I think this was one of them. Other categories were, you know, didn't have as much, or sometimes didn't have any because we didn't anticipate expenses, and so that's why we're just trying to reallocate. And again, I don't want to speak for Mark, he can probably explain it a lot better than I can, but I've learned that a budget is kind of self-contained. This is our spending plan for '23,
Right.
and then '24 would be a brand-new one
Right.
with new
Yeah,
assumptions
so
from the
you'll
beginning.
need to come up with money
We'll have
for
to
that.
find revenue for '24.
Yeah, that's,
Correct.
okay, that, I just,
And succeeding years, yep.
okay, thank you. I just also would like to remind you of the schoolhouse, and please keep that in your minds, and I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, appreciate it. Okay. Do we have any additional citizens' comments? No? I guess,
I think that was for us.
Dave, that's all yours.
all right. Do we have any need to go into executive session, or are we good this month? All good? Okay. If no executive session, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, so moved by Ms. Clear, second by Mr.
Second.
Bach.
Yep.
We'll go ahead and vote. Mr. Olet?
Yes.
Mr. Bach?
Yes.
Ms. Clear?
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell? And I vote yes. We are adjourned. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.